May 21st, 1946. We are in the high desert of New Mexico, Los Alamos Laboratory, the Omega site.
This is the heart of the Manhattan Project. The war is over, but the machinery of death is still running.
Inside the lab, 8 men are gathered around a simple table. In the center sits a 2-kilogram sphere.
Plutonium-239, codename Rufus. It was the third core manufactured. It was destined for Tokyo.
Japan surrendered before they could drop it. Now, it's a science experiment, a very expensive, very deadly paperweight.
The government spent billions enriching this metal. It is the most dense, unstable energy source on Earth.
Louis Slotin is the man in charge. He's the chief armorer. He assembled the gadget for the Trinity test.
He's brilliant, but he's bored. He treats radiation like a toy. He's wearing blue jeans and cowboy boots.
He's performing a criticality test. They call it tickling the dragon's tail. It's a game of chicken with nuclear physics.
The goal is to bring the core to the very edge of a chain reaction, just to see what happens, just to measure the data.
He places the core inside 2 hemispheres of beryllium. The beryllium acts as a neutron reflector.
Think of it like a mirror. The core shoots out neutrons. The beryllium bounces them back in.
If enough neutrons bounce back, the core goes critical. It starts a self-sustaining nuclear reaction.
Safety protocols demand wooden spacers, physical shims to prevent the top hemisphere from closing completely.
Slotin ignores the protocol. He removes the shims. He wants total manual control.
He picks up a standard flathead screwdriver. He wedges the blade between the 2 metal halves.
He's controlling the gap with his wrist. He lowers the top shell. The Geiger counters start screaming.
The other scientists in the room stop breathing. Raymer Schreiber turns away. He doesn't want to watch.
Slotin is cool. He's done this a dozen times. He leans in close. His face is directly over the exposed core.
It's pure arrogance. Enrico Fermi warned him. He said, "You'll be dead within a year if you keep doing that."
3:20 p.m. The screwdriver slips. Just a fraction of an inch. Gravity takes over.
The top hemisphere drops. Clank. The beryllium shell closes completely around the plutonium.
Prompt criticality. The core goes supercritical instantly. A massive burst of neutron radiation floods the room.
A flash of blue light, intense, brighter than the sun. It illuminates the corners of the room.
That's Cherenkov radiation. The air molecules are ionizing. The atoms are tearing apart.
A wave of heat hits them. It's not thermal heat. It's the water in their bodies reacting to the radiation.
Slotin tastes metal, sour, like sucking on a penny. His mouth is filled with ionized particles.
His left hand goes numb. He feels a burning sensation deep inside his chest. The damage is instant.
Reaction time. Slotin jerks his hand up. He flips the tamper off the core. It clatters to the floor.
The blue glow vanishes. The Geiger counters go silent. The room is dead quiet.
The reaction lasted less than a second, but in that second, physics changed everything.
Slotin stands up. He looks at his hands. He knows. He calculates the distance.
He tells the others, "Mark your positions." He needs to calculate the geometry of the burst.
He grabs a piece of chalk. He draws circles on the floor where everyone was standing.
He knows he took the direct hit. He acted as a shield for the others.
He looks at Alvin Graves, who is standing closest to him. He says, "I'm sorry."
He's a walking ghost. His DNA is shredded. The cellular instructions for life are gone.
The Demon Corps has claimed its second victim. The first was Harry Doglian 9 months prior. Same core, same mistake.
Slotin walks out of the building. He vomits immediately. The acute radiation syndrome begins now.
He has 9 days left to live, and the US government has a massive PR problem to solve.
This wasn't an act of war. It was a slip of the wrist, a mechanical failure of the human element.
And it cost the life of one of the most valuable minds in the atomic program.
Let's break down the exact mechanics of this failure, because it wasn't just a slip of the hand, it was a failure of physics management. When Slotin was lowering that beryllium half-sphere, he was manually creating a neutron reflector. The plutonium core constantly emits neutrons, and usually they escape harmlessly into the air. But that beryllium shell acts like a mirror, bouncing those neutrons right back into the center. As he lowered the shell, he was increasing the percentage of reflected neutrons, bringing the core closer and closer to a critical state. The screwdriver was the only physical barrier preventing the shell from closing completely. When the tool slipped, the shell fell flush against the bottom hemisphere, instantly creating a supercritical assembly. There was nowhere for the neutrons to go but back into the core, triggering a massive, instantaneous chain reaction that released a burst of energy equivalent to a small explosion, but entirely in the form of invisible, lethal radiation.
And we have to look at the immediate biological logistics of that burst, because it's terrifyingly specific. The moment the air turned blue from the ionization, Slotin's body was bombarded by a mix of hard gamma rays and high-energy neutrons. This isn't like getting an X-ray. These particles act like billions of microscopic bullets tearing through cellular structures. The sour taste he reported was actually the ionization of the fluids inside his mouth. He was tasting the radiation directly. What's chilling is the 3D burn concept. Unlike a fire that burns your skin from the outside in, this radiation passed through him completely, ionizing atoms throughout his entire torso. His internal organs were being cooked at the exact same moment as his skin. It literally scrambled the molecular bonds holding his DNA together in less than a second.
Exactly. The geometry of the accident is what determined who lived and who died that day. Slotin was leaning directly over the assembly, shielding the others with his own body. Because of the inverse square law, the intensity of radiation drops off drastically with distance. Slotin absorbed a dose estimated at 21 sieverts of neutrons and gamma radiation. To put that in perspective, a lethal dose is usually considered around 5 sieverts. He took 4 times the lethal amount instantly. The scientist standing right behind him, Alvin Graves, received a serious but survivable dose simply because Slotin's torso absorbed the bulk of the neutron flux. Slotin effectively became a human control rod, stopping the beam from killing everyone else in the room, but sealing his own fate the moment that blue light flashed.
The logistics of the medical response were hopeless from the start, and the doctors knew it. This wasn't the first time this specific core had killed someone. It had killed Harry Daghlian 9 months earlier, in a not similar accident. They knew the protocol, walking ghost phase. After the initial vomiting and pain subsides, the patient appears to recover for a few days. This is a cruel biological trick. The body is still functioning on existing cells, but the bone marrow has been completely destroyed. No new blood cells are being produced. Slotin's white blood cell count dropped to 0 immediately. His platelets vanished. Effectively, his immune system was deleted, and his body lost the ability to clot blood or fight even a minor infection. They were just managing his pain while his internal systems shut down one by one. A logistical nightmare where no amount of money or medicine could reverse the cellular destruction.
We also need to look at the engineering failure of the bravado culture at Los Alamos. This wasn't a complex machine failure, it was a hack that became standard procedure. Fermi and other senior physicists had warned Slotin about using a screwdriver, a simple, uncalibrated hand tool, to control a nuclear reaction. A proper mechanism would have used a remote-controlled lowering device, or fixed shims that made it physically impossible for the shell to close. By relying on human dexterity and wrist strength to hold back a nuclear excursion, they introduced a single point of failure that was dependent entirely on human error. In engineering terms, this is a catastrophic design flaw. You never design a system where a sneeze or a sweaty palm can result in a prompt, critical event.
That's the cowboy science factor that defined the early atomic age. The logistics of safety were secondary to the speed of research. They had this can-do attitude from the war effort, where risks were acceptable if it meant getting the bomb built. But the war was over. There was no strategic need to rush this experiment on a Tuesday afternoon. Slotin's arrogance was a direct product of an environment that rewarded risk-taking. The financial cost of losing Slotin was immense. He was a top-tier asset, but the cost to the program's reputation was worse. It forced the government to finally implement remote handling protocols, ending the era of scientists manipulating cores. with their bare hands. It took 2 deaths and a massive cover-up of the gruesome details to finally force a change in the standard operating procedure.
The 9 days that followed were a gruesome testament to what ionizing radiation does to biological systems. Slotin's body literally disintegrated from the inside out. His white blood cell count plummeted immediately. His skin turned a deep, angry red and blistered over his entire body, and his internal organs began to liquefy as the cellular structures lost their cohesion. He was lucid for much of it, essentially watching himself decompose in real time. While doctors could offer nothing but morphine, it's a stark reminder that in the face of nuclear physics, the human body is just fragile chemistry waiting to be unmade. By the time he died on May 30th, he had aged decades in a single week, his body simply unable to replicate the cells needed to keep him alive.
The immediate fallout went far beyond the hospital room. It forced a total shutdown of hands-on assembly at Los Alamos. General Groves ordered that no human being would ever touch a critical assembly again, mandating the use of robotic arms and shielded bunkers for all future testing. The Demon Core itself, Rufus, was deemed too cursed and unstable to be used as a weapon. It was melted down and recycled into other cores, destroying the physical evidence of the accident but cementing its legacy as the most expensive and deadly paperweight in history. The financial cost of retooling the entire laboratory for remote handling was astronomical, but the liability of losing another top-tier physicist was a price the government couldn't afford to pay again.
For anyone working with high-risk systems today, the lesson here is about the normalization of deviance. Slotin had done that screwdriver trick a dozen times, without consequence, so he believed the risk was zero. But probability doesn't care about your past success. It only cares about the physics of the current moment. If you are bypassing a safety interlock or removing a shield because it's faster, you are effectively pulling the pin on a grenade and holding the spoon. Distance is your only friend. Always use remote handling, always respect the shielding, and never trust your reflexes against a nuclear chain reaction. The inverse square law dictates that doubling your distance cuts the radiation intensity by 4. Slotin was simply too close to survive.
This accident proved that the most dangerous component in any high-tech system isn't the uranium or the explosives, it's the human ego. Slotin's brilliance couldn't save him from a 30-cent tool slipping on a smooth metal surface. In the world of high-stakes engineering and dark business, cutting corners on safety protocols is just a delayed transaction where you pay with your life instead of your budget. The bill always comes due, and in this case, the interest rate was lethal radiation. We analyze these failures not to mock the dead, but to ensure the living don't repeat the same logistical errors. Stay sharp.
Check your gear out.